Our committee has worked very hard here in the Senate and in the House, I might add, to get this program ready for reauthorization because it's the federal government's largest research program for small business. And as you know, Mr. President, and I've said many times on the floor as chair of the Small Business Committee, I really want and hope that the federal government itself could be a better partner with small businesses in America to encourage innovation, to encourage appropriate risk-taking. And we can do that in a variety of different ways. Of course, we have authority over banking systems and capital systems and financial systems. We sometimes do that with just big business in mind. We need to think about the 27 million small businesses in America, giving them opportunities for capital through the banking system, through non-bank lenders. Our committee has been very busy trying to do our part of helping our country out of this recession by continuing to focus on capital access for small business. We also keep a close eye on regulations that might be dampening small businesses from growing and accelerating, whether those regulations come out of the financial sector or from health or EPA, et cetera. We try to keep an eye, and the Small Business Administration itself, in fact, has an independent agency inside of it to look at rules and regulations, and our committee is going to take a hard look at any rules and regulations coming out from any federal agencies that miss the mark or that fail to recognize the impact that some of those regulations may have on small business. And if it's too onerous, we are going to comment and push back. But another way that our federal government can be a better partner to small business is to make sure they have access to some of the federal government's research and development and technology funds. We think from the Department of Defense, we don't think we know, from the Department of Defense all the way to the Department of Health and Human Services, to the Department of Energy, to the Department of Commerce, the federal government spends literally billions of dollars in research and development, and that's good. Only a small percentage of our budget. Some people argue those research and development dollars are too low because with the federal government, by investing in research and development wisely, really generates and promotes patents, inventions, discoveries, expansion of business, large and small. In fact, America does this probably better than any country in the world, and we're proud of it. And the federal government has a role to play. This particular program was started by Senator Rudman over 25, actually almost 30 years ago now. Senator Rudman was a senator from New Hampshire. And from a small state like New Hampshire, he was, of course, very familiar with the great universities and the great small businesses there, and he was just actually shocked and I think dismayed and saddened to find out that small businesses in his own state had really, even if they were inventing some of the best products, some of the best technologies, couldn't get their foot in the front door to an agency like the NIH. They didn't want to talk to a small business. They wanted to talk to the big pharmaceuticals, or they wanted to talk, to the big companies. And I think Senator Rudman got a little frustrated, and so he said, you know what? I think we need to have not a ceiling, but a floor for the agencies to look to the small businesses in all of our communities, on main streets, all over America, and say, what do you have to offer? And we'll give you an opportunity. And this works two ways. One, it's good for small business to be able to have access to some of these research and development dollars. But Mr. President, as importantly, it's important for the taxpayer to get the best bang for their buck that they're paying in taxes. And they want the best technology, not just the easiest to access. They want the best technology. And these companies, having invested in this program now over 25 years, we have evidence upon evidence upon evidence to suggest that the taxpayer has, in fact, gotten the best bang for its buck. So reauthorizing this program is something that we know is important to do to create jobs, to begin to create the kind of jobs that will lead us out of this recession. Innovation equals jobs, technology equals jobs. Another program I want to share. This one is actually from Louisiana, and there are actually success stories from every state in the Union. Mezzo Technologies has created, with the help of LSU and a small business, Dr. Kevin Kelly started with 2 employees. Now his payroll exceeds $1.2 million. We ran into problems, Mr. President, when we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, trying to run our tanks in places that were extremely hot. The radiators that we had designed were not sufficient, and we were running into a serious equipment challenge. It was the small business, this small business at LSU, with the help of the university, that began to develop new kinds of technologies that now can be used for our military, but it also has potential for significant commercial application, potentially in the race car industry or potentially in the general automotive industry. That's an example of how technologies needed for a specific problem that the federal government's having, responded to by small business, not a big company, a small company, and new technologies can create the new radiators of the future. So small businesses are key to putting Americans back to work. They are the innovators. In fact, small businesses account for 13 times more patents than large businesses, and small businesses employ almost 40% of American scientists and engineers. Studies show that SBIR-backed firms have been responsible for roughly 25% of the nation's most crucial innovations over the past decade. Unfortunately, Mr. President, and this is why I'm on the floor today, this important program that does so much to give taxpayers the full measure and worth of their tax dollar, that gives small businesses the opportunity to grow, to create jobs right here in America, not in China, not in France or in Spain, but right here in America. These programs have been sputtering. This particular program has been sputtering on short-term extensions. Every 3 months, we reauthorize it, or every 6 months at last year's levels. We need to move forward, provide a longer-term extension. The bill that we're going to be debating this week provides an 8-year authorization, which gives some certainty. It gives some stability to the 300 labs in the United States of America that do primarily research and development for the federal government. It sends out a clear signal to innovators. The federal government has challenges, the federal government has problems, and now we're putting some money behind those challenges and problems. We want you to be part of the solution. We believe in this program.